All right, guys, so we're back for part two. Here we have 24.5 Gasgas 450, and you could see that we skipped around a little bit. On the first part, we went ahead and explained everything that I did in terms of building the engine, but we got a little too caught up in actually just doing this, so I decided to actually just get it done and kind of explain it to you guys later. So here is our turbo, our Garrett GBC 14-200, and I got it tucked away in a pretty nice spot right here on the side, and hopefully on video it picks it up, but it's really kind of out of the way of your foot, which is important on a dirt bike. Ended up routing the header coming up to the turbo right here, and then the dump going through back through the frame rails out to the bottom right here where it just dumps off. And I kept in mind I wanted to make these headers above the frame rails, so that way if you do bottom out over a jump, the first thing you're going to hit is the frame rails, as opposed to just tearing off your turbo kit. But we got the turbo kit all done here. Custom made 3AN oil feed line, custom made return, tapped it into the clutch cover with 10AN as the return. Excuse me, this is actually 8AN. And then our intake is routed where our exhaust would normally go. So our intake routes through the frame rails right here, up into an air box on the other side, which I'll go to in a minute. We'll walk around to this side and I'll show you guys. I have the wastegate routed on this side, and to feed the turbo with oil, I tapped into the oil filter housing right here and just ran a 90-degree 3AN fitting off, stainless line up to the front of the turbo. We're also running an O2 sensor on the exhaust, which is pretty tucked in there as well, and that's to power our AEM air fuel gauge, which is kind of built into the dash right here. Now, these draw a lot of amperage, and even on my big street bikes like my Hayabusa, I have problems with how much amperage it draws at idle. Between this and your starter motor, you end up like basically cooking your battery right away. So I have a switch right here to to toggle it on and off, so that way when you do stop the bike, you're not just going to kill your battery and be stranded out in the woods. We'll go ahead and we'll pull off this side now. And there's our air box. Now, it's blank on this side, so it's somewhat hard to see what's going on. We're going to pull off the other side right now, and I'll show you guys what exactly is going on. So now with my paneling exposed, you can see exactly what's going on with this turbo kit. So as I said before, we have the intake routed where your exhaust would normally go, but instead of shooting up and mounting into these brackets right here and right here, my intake just wraps around the shock very carefully right here and just feeds right into the air box. And then the feed, it's a little hard to see, but there's a feed inlet coming off, or an outlet coming off of the air box, which shoots straight into the intake through that red coupler right there. This is my blow-off valve. We have my blow-off valve routed in and kind of tucked out of the way. Put in some vacuum fittings right into the air box to feed things like the blow-off valve and the wastegate. This routes down all the way around to our wastegate over there. Now, something to note is this exhaust got pretty close to the radiator here, and although the hose wasn't touching, it got pretty close, and I didn't want to risk blowing a radiator, a coolant line in the middle of the woods, God forbid. So I went ahead and put this fiberglass 1-inch wrap around it. And the wrap does touch the header, but like I said, the hose doesn't actually, the hose itself wouldn't have touched this turbine housing. It's only touching now because I put that sleeve on there, which is going to, make it a greater outer diameter. So it does touch now, but that's not to worry. It doesn't touch without the sleeve. It's not going to transfer heat. It's not going to blow the coolant lines because of that. So I wanted to be weary of that. And something we also took to heart was, how are we going to filter this thing? Because we're going to be sucking up dirt. Dirt's going to be kicking from the rear wheel. You're going to have people you're going to have people next to you, in front of you. There's going to be dust in the air when you're riding a dirt bike and you're racing other people, especially. So what I did is I ended up buying this 2.5-inch turbo guard, and obviously this is a very coarse mesh. This only protects big rocks. So what I did is I actually laid the stock air filter over the turbo, and I put a very fine mesh on the backside, so that way this filter media doesn't get sucked through the turbo. But I also have the same filtration as a stock bike would have. So this is actually the original stock filter, which I stuffed into the turbo, stuffed into the inlet, and there's also a mesh behind it, like I said before, so that way this can't get sucked into the engine. It's the same engineering that they use on the stock air filters. So I basically just implemented the stock filtration system into this turbo unit. Our drain is pretty good. I'm gonna put some clamps on this hose right here. Don't look at that and assume it's the final version. It's definitely not. If I don't put clamps on it, I'm gonna lock wire the setup just to keep this hose on there. It's kind of wedged in between these two fittings, so it really can't go anywhere if it wanted to. But for an added level of assurance, I want to make sure that it doesn't. So we'll end up clamping that down as well. But yeah, the turbo kit is complete. Everything works flawlessly. It fits into the bike super well. Now comes the fun part, which is actually getting this thing to run right. So that's going to come in part 3. I wanted to give you guys a short update because I kind of left you hanging with part 1, where we did part 1. I showed you guys every step of how we built the engine, but then I kind of skipped around where it is now. And I left out a lot of key facets. This is probably the meat and potatoes, what everyone wanted to see us build step by step. But unfortunately, it just made more sense to finish the thing and then explain to you guys what we did after. The engineering took a lot of time. I had a tremendous amount of help from my buddy Bakeworks, who I will link in the description. If I can't figure out how to @ him on the page right now. He's the one who did a lot of the fabrication. In fact, he did most of the fabrication for this kit. I did help him a good amount along the way. We kind of went through this together and figured out what would be the best solution for a lot of these issues that did come up. But I'm pretty happy with the result and the way the bike turned out. But I wanted to keep this video short. I just wanted to give you guys a quick little update as to what's going on, where the bike is now. This is going to be the part 2. Like I said, unfortunately, I wanted to show you guys every step, how we engineered everything, why we decided to make everything the way that it is. But due to time constraints and us just really wanting to get this thing done, I didn't really get to do that. But I am going to show you guys more of the tuning aspect and how we're going to tune this thing to work with basically the stock fuel setup, or as close to it as we can keep without getting too crazy. I will be running the stock ECU. I have a power commander under the seat already. So that will be my way of tuning this thing. But I have some tricks up my sleeve that people really aren't expecting. I'm running a little bit older technology on this bike. I bought a power commander from a 2016 bike to allow for more playing with the fuel tables. The new ones are limited to 15%. You only can go up or down 15% on the fuel. And obviously I need to double the fuel output because I'm almost doubling the air that's going into the engine. So when it came to that, I had to go with an older Power Commander 5, which ended up being cheaper. The Power Commander in it was about $300 compared to the $600 that they are for a Power Commander 6. I'm running a Power Commander 5 in this bike, and what I'm not doing is, the only thing that doesn't work with this new bike is the map sensor. The updated map sensor is different on the 2022 or 2023 and up bikes. So I'm just leaving that facet unplugged, which doesn't allow me to do dynamic tuning, meaning it doesn't allow the ECU to basically program itself. If I shove more boost into it, it's not going to correct. I need to do all that manually. If I change the boost on this bike, I have to manually go in, make different maps for different levels of boost, and change it that way. But I'm running this setup on couple of my other bikes and I have no issues with it as long as you keep the same boost. So this is just a short little update. I wanted to keep you guys updated. Now there is going to be a part 3 coming up where we do explain the tuning more in depth. I'm going to go through like we did in the first video and show you every step of the way how we're doing this. I figured the turbo kit, once it's done, it kind of explains itself. I wanted to show you guys all the pieces and components that are associated with it. And I'm sure I left even pieces out because there was so much engineering involved. This is a brand new turbocharger. They don't sell flanges for it. We had to make every flanges on it. I had to make all custom gaskets. That's the kind of stuff that I'm probably leaving out right now, but I figured I'd throw in. But yeah, more to come. Thank you guys for watching. If you like more videos like this, I'm going to go more in depth and the builds are only going to get crazier and higher production quality. Everything about what we do on this channel is going to improve going forward. I can promise you that. So if you guys like even the concept of this channel, please like and subscribe. Comment how we could do this better. and I'll be sure to implement it. If if everyone has a consensus, like, dude, if you just did this one thing, this channel would be so far better, then we're definitely going to implement it. We're not going to be ignorant to your guys' opinions. I love your guys' opinions, and I appreciate you guys for watching. Like I said, if you want to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe. They're going to be more in depth. I have some crazy builds coming up. We have a turbo CBX coming down the pipeline, a turbo 6-cylinder Honda, and that's just one of the builds to note. I have a lot of builds coming down the pipeline right now, and I appreciate you guys' support. So yeah, thank you for watching. Follow Boosted Bikes on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, all your favorite social media platforms, and I thank you guys for being here.